The night was quiet in space. The human research ship floated near the border of a forgotten alien sector. Chris, a young engineer, sat alone in the communications room, staring at blinking lights on his monitor. Most of the crew was asleep. It was his turn for the night shift. Nothing ever happened during these shifts. It was always the same: check signals, log updates, wait for warning dot, but tonight was different. A small light blinked, then faded. Chris leaned forward, confused. It was from the deep signal array, the system used to catch strange signals from far parts of space. He adjusted the controls. No audio came through, no message, just silence. Then, something strange happened. Voice echoed in his mind. It wasn't a sound he heard with his ears. It was inside his thoughts, soft, warm, and oddly familiar. Can you hear me now? It said. Chris blinked and looked around. No one was there. The room was empty. He checked the speaker, then the headset. Everything was off. Still, the voice spoke again. Finally, I've been waiting a long time. His heart beat faster. He stood up and backed away from the console. Who's there? He asked. Even though he knew no one could answer him aloud, the voice didn't speak again. For a moment, everything went quiet. He sat back down, confused and a little shaken. Maybe he was tired. Maybe it was stress. But part of him knew it was real. A few hours passed. The voice didn't return. He finished his shift and went to sleep. The next night, the voice came again. You're close now. Just a little more. Chris tried to speak with it, but it only replied in short thoughts. It felt like someone was watching him, but not in a scary way. It felt curious, like someone knew him. Someone had been learning about him. On the third night, the voice gave him coordinates. A small group of old ships had been drifting nearby, covered in dust and forgotten. They were not dangerous, just space junk. But one ship in that group had something strange, something cloaked, hidden. Chris followed the voice and took a small shuttle alone. He didn't tell the crew. He told himself it was just for research, just to check the source. But deep down, he wanted to know who the voice belonged to. As he got closer to the broken ships, his scanner beeped. One vessel was different. It didn't match any known design. It was smooth and curved like it had grown, not been built. Its hull was cracked, but power was still running inside. The voice returned clearer now. You found me. Come in. I'm waiting. He docked his shuttle and opened the old airlock. Dust floated through the air, and soft blue lights lit the hallway. The place felt empty, but alive. Something was guiding him. He followed the feeling down a narrow path until he entered a small chamber. There, in the center of the room, was a strange pod. It was made of something like glass and sand, shifting and moving around a figure inside. A young alien woman lay inside, her body covered in silver dust that looked like it sparkled without light. Her eyes were closed, but her face looked peaceful, soft, calm. You came, the voice said again. But now, it was not just in his head. Her eyes opened. Chris froze. She looked at him like she had known him forever. Her voice filled his mind again. But this time it felt stronger. You touched the beacon years ago. That's how I found you. Your thoughts reached me across the stars. He didn't understand, but he listened. The alien girl slowly stood up. The sand on her skin slid away, forming a smooth suit around her. She moved like someone waking from a long dream. Her hair was white like snow, and her eyes glowed gently, not from light, but from energy inside her. Who are you? Chris asked quietly. My name is Selah, she said, her voice now in both his mind and ears. I've been waiting for you, Chris. You've been thinking of me without knowing. Now I'm here. His hands shook. Why me? Because your mind is different, strong, deep. I felt your memories, your dreams, your fears. And I want you to keep thinking of me, especially the parts others forget, the messy, the real, the parts full of life. I need that. He didn't know what to say. It all sounded crazy. But at the same time, it felt right, like she belonged. Here, like they were always meant to meet. She stepped closer and touched his hand. You helped wake me. Now let me show you why I reached out. And just like that, Chris felt a spark in his mind like a door opening to something he never knew existed. Chris stood in the strange chamber, his eyes locked with the alien girl's. Her name was Selah, and her presence felt both peaceful and powerful. The light from the walls reflected softly on her silver suit. The room was quiet, but inside Chris's head, it was full of thoughts not his, but hers. "Don't be afraid," she said gently. "I won't harm you. I came to understand, to connect." Chris nodded slowly, even though his heart was racing. "How are you doing this? How can I hear you in my head?" Selah took a breath and looked around the chamber. "My people were telepaths," she said. "Long ago, we connected through thoughts instead of words. We could hear each other, feel each other's emotions. But we went too far. We became silent. We forgot how to live without others. Inside our minds," she looked down for a moment, her voice softer. "We started fading, one by one, too quiet to survive." Chris stepped closer. "Then how did you find me?" Selah smiled faintly. "There was a beacon left behind by one of my kind, a crystal that could reach minds across space. When you touched it on that desert planet during your survey mission, something opened. Your thoughts were strong, full of pictures, memories, struggles, and emotion. I followed your thoughts back here." Chris remembered the moment. He had touched a strange rock years ago, and it had made his head feel warm. But nothing else happened, so he forgot about it. Now, it all made sense. "What do you want from me?" he asked, his voice quiet. Seyla raised her hand and touched his temple lightly. "I want to understand life again. Through you. Your mind is rich with images both clean and messy. I need you to think of those things. Not just happy moments, but also the rough ones: rain, dirt, pain, sweat, joy, laughter. The things that make life real." Chris blinked. "Why those things?" "Because my power grows through real thoughts, raw experiences," she said. "We are not just watchers. We grow by feeling the deep truth in others. But most aliens avoid the dirty parts of life. They hide from them. Your kind embraces them, builds from them." He nodded slowly. "Humans mess up a lot, but we try to fix things." Selah smiled brighter. "That's why I chose you." They spent hours talking. Selah didn't speak much out loud. Her thoughts were stronger, clearer. She showed Chris pieces of her past images of her planet, once full of color, now dark and silent. He saw the great temples, now covered in sand. He felt her loneliness. The long years of waiting, asleep but aware, listening for a voice that never came until his. They returned to the shuttle. Chris helped Selah aboard, and they flew back to the research ship. He told the crew that he had found a relic of an unknown species. It wasn't a lie. He just didn't tell them that the relic was alive. In the following days, Chris and Selah spent more time together. She stayed in a quiet room at the edge of the ship. She didn't eat or sleep like humans did, but she sat quietly and listened to everything. Chris found himself thinking more clearly. He started to notice details in life he hadn't paid attention to before. The way dust floated in sunlight, the rough texture of metal under his hands, the smell of engine oil, the heat from broken wires. Each time he focused on something raw and real. Selah smiled. "These are the thoughts I need," she said one evening. "They give me shape. They make me stronger." One night, Chris was repairing a broken coolant pipe. The fluid sprayed out, cold and sticky. He cursed under his breath and wiped his face, laughing at the mess. From behind him, Selah spoke softly. "Yes, that's it. Messy, uncomfortable, but honest. Your thoughts, I feel them, and they feed me." Chris turned and looked at her. "So, you're saying my messy life is like energy for you?" She nodded. "Not just messy, but real. The galaxy is too clean now, too careful. Your kind remembers the earth, the mud, the storms, the pain of growth. I need that." As the days passed, something changed in the ship. The lights started reacting to Selah's mood. Tools moved slightly before Chris even reached for them. Doors opened without being touched. The crew felt a strange presence, but they couldn't explain it. Only Chris knew the truth. Seyla was getting stronger, and their bond was growing deeper. One night, Selah whispered in his mind again. "You're thinking of the storm on Mars, aren't you?" The one that broke your leg. Chris paused. How do you know that? I felt it. Your pain. Your fear. And how you kept going. That thought gave me more than any word ever could. Chris stared out the window at the stars. He didn't understand everything about Selah, but he knew that she was alive because of him, and maybe, just maybe, he was changing to. Chris woke up earlier than usual. His room felt warmer. Lights on the ceiling glowed softer than normal, as if they were reacting to his thoughts. It had been over a week since Selah came aboard the ship, but things had not returned to normal. In fact, nothing felt normal anymore. Every day, she grew. Stronger, not in a dangerous way, but in a quiet, steady way. The more time she spent near Chris, the more connected they became. She didn't need food or sleep. All she needed was his thoughts, his real thoughts, his memories, his struggles. The messy parts of life he had once ignored. She asked him to remember everything. Moments when he fell and got up, when he worked with grease-stained hands, when he got hurt but smiled anyway. Those thoughts fed her. And she changed because of them. Good morning, Selah said as he entered her quiet room. She sat near the window, staring at the stars. Her skin looked clearer, more alive. A soft light shimmered from her body, but it wasn't bright, it was calm, like moonlight on water. Morning, Chris said, rubbing his eyes. I think the air system's acting strange. It feels different in here. Selah smiled gently. The ship is responding to your thoughts. Chris blinked. My thoughts? Yes, through our link. The ship reacts to what you feel. It's small now, but growing. Should I be worried? She shook her head. No, not yet. But not everyone on the ship felt the same way. Lieutenant Graves, the ship's security officer, had started asking questions. He noticed the lights flickering. Near engineering, he noticed tools moving on their own. And he noticed Chris spending too much time in the same restricted area. I'm just saying. Something's off, Graves said to the captain. One of our engineers disappears for hours. Systems act strange, and we've got an unknown energy source in the lower decks. The captain nodded. Keep watching. If there's something dangerous, I want to know about it. Meanwhile, Chris tried to help Selah understand more about human life. He showed her old recordings of Earth cities full of noise, streets covered in mud after rain, kids playing in the snow, workers building machines with their hands. She watched silently, her eyes glowing brighter with every messy image. These are the thoughts I want, she said softly. Life without filters, emotion without polish. Your world remembers things others try to forget. Chris smiled. Yeah, we're not perfect, but we don't try to hide it. As they talked, the walls of her room began to change. The metal turned darker, rougher, like the surface of a rocky planet. It felt more real, more alive. But that same night, Lieutenant Graves entered engineering while Chris was gone. His scanner beeped wildly as he passed Selah's door. He opened. She stood silently in the center, her eyes calm, her hands at her sides. You're not authorized to be here, she said. Graves raised his scanner. Who are you? What are you doing to our ship? She didn't move. I am listening. Graves stepped closer. You're manipulating systems, aren't you? Changing things. Feeding off something. Chris rushed in just as Graves pulled out a warning device. Stop, Chris shouted. She's not hurting anyone. Graves turned. She's not supposed to be here. She's affecting the ship, maybe even the crew. And you're helping her. Selah's voice stayed calm. I do not mean harm. I'm learning. Through him. You're draining him. Graves said. You're using him. No. Chris said firmly. I volunteered. She's not taking from me. I'm giving freely. And she's giving something back too. Graves frowned. This isn't safe. Nothing out here is. Chris replied. But she's part of something ancient. Something that's been forgotten. And we need to understand it. The captain arrived soon after. She listened to both sides, then made her decision. You've got 3 days. The captain told Chris. Learn what you can. If she's a threat, she goes. If she's not, we send her back to the science division. Chris nodded. Thank you. Later. Selah sat quietly beside him. They fear what they can't feel, she said. That's normal. Chris replied. But I don't fear you. I feel something else. What is it? He looked at her, and for a moment, he couldn't find the right word. Trust, he said at last. Even if I don't understand it all. She smiled. Then I will show you more. She reached out and gently touched his forehead. A burst of light flashed in his mind, images of other worlds, other minds, other lives lost in silence. Our story is not over, she said, but others will try to stop it. The next morning, the ship felt colder. Chris walked through the hallway, feeling a strange tension in the air. Crew members gave him curious looks. Some even stepped aside when he passed. The news about Sayla had spread fast. Many didn't know the full story, only that she was an unknown alien who had strange powers and that Chris was helping her. He reached her room and found her already awake, sitting near the window like always. Her eyes followed the stars, calm and focused. Something's changed, Chris said quietly. She nodded. They're afraid. Their thoughts are sharp. I can feel them. He sighed. The captain gave us time. But others think you're dangerous. They don't understand. Sayla stood up. I do not blame them. I'm not like them. I come from silence, from a place where minds touched and truth was shared. Here, everyone hides behind words, but we can't read each other's thoughts. Chris said, maybe that's why we lie sometimes, or stay quiet. I know, Sayla said softly. That is why I need you. Your thoughts are loud and clear. Even when they're messy. Chris smiled a little. You really like the messy stuff, don't you? She gave a small laugh, the first one he had heard from her. Yes. The messy parts are full of life. Before they could speak more, the ship's alert rang. Chris tapped his communicator. Double quotes Chris. Report to the command deck, the captain's voice said. He turned to Sayla. Stay here. I'll come back. When Chris reached the command deck, the screen showed a patrol ship approaching. It belonged to the Galactic Science Council. The captain looked serious. They picked up energy signals coming from our ship. They traced it to the unknown lifeform Sayla. Chris frowned. What do they want? They're requesting custody, she said. They believe she's a threat to galactic stability. They've sent a team to collect her. You can't hand her over, Chris said. She's not hurting anyone. This isn't my choice anymore, the captain replied. If we refuse, they'll force us. You have until they dock. After that, it's out of our hands. Chris rushed back to Sayla. She was waiting, eyes closed, sensing everything. They are coming for me, she said. Yes, Chris said. They want to take you away. They think you're too powerful. Sayla opened her eyes. They don't understand. I'm not a weapon. We have to leave, Chris said. I'll take a shuttle. We can escape through the asteroid field. Nearby, she looked at him gently. If you do this, you will be seen as a traitor. I don't care. He said, you trusted me. Now it's my turn. Sayla placed her hand on his. Then let's go. They moved quickly. Chris led her through maintenance tunnels, avoiding security patrols. As they moved, the lights flickered not out of failure, but out of reaction. Sayla's presence was affecting the ship more and more. They reached the hangar bay and entered a small scout shuttle. As the engines warmed, Chris looked at her. Are you ready? I was born ready, she said calmly. They launched just as the patrol ship's docking clamps reached out. Alarms rang across the research vessel, but the scout ship darted away fast. Chris steered into the asteroid field, using his memories of past drills to guide them. Behind them, the patrol ship followed. Inside the shuttle, Sayla reached out with her mind. Think, Chris, she said. Focus on your memories. The times you failed. The times you fought back. Show me what survival means to you. He closed his eyes and remembered the broken oxygen system during his first spacewalk. The fire in the engine room he helped put out with bare hands. The time he got lost on a desert moon and used mud to cool his suit. Each memory poured into her. Outside, something strange happened. The shuttle shimmered. The asteroids around them shifted, opening paths no pilot could see. The patrol ship tried to follow, but their engines stuttered. Controls failed. Chris opened his eyes. What's happening? Sayla smiled. Your thoughts, they're shaping the world around us. For now, This space listens to you, not them. They escaped the asteroid field, leaving the patrol ship. Stuck behind. Later, they landed on a quiet moon covered in dust and rock. Chris stepped out first, breathing heavily. Scyla joined him, her feet touching the ground like she belonged there. They'll keep looking, Chris said. Let them, she replied. They will not find us unless you want them to. He looked at her. How far does this connection go? Scyla answered softly. As far as your thoughts can reach. The moon was dry, silent, and full of dust. The ground was rough and cracked. Cold wind passed over the rocky surface. Chris and Scyla stood at the edge of a wide valley, looking at the sky. No one will find us here, Chris said, adjusting his suit. Scyla stood beside him without needing a helmet. She breathed in the air like it didn't bother her. Her energy came from thoughts, not oxygen. Her body was slowly adapting to everything around them. This place is quiet, she said. But it listens. Chris looked at her. What do you mean? Scyla pointed to the ground. This moon is like a canvas. It will follow your mind if we stay linked. He didn't understand at first, but as he looked around, something small happened. A crack in the ground closed by itself. Dust lifted, then fell again. It was as if the world reacted to his thoughts. Just like the ship had. You said your people use thought to survive, Chris said. So you can control things through memory? Scyla nodded. Only when the thoughts are strong and honest. No lies, no tricks. The more real they are, the more power they give. Chris sat down and placed his hand on the ground. He closed his eyes. He thought of Earth, its storms, its heat, its wild rivers, and deep forests. He remembered working under the rain, slipping in mud, fixing a broken rover with greasy fingers. He remembered pain, tiredness, and still pushing forward. The ground beneath his hand grew warm. He opened his eyes. Plants small, glowing, and unfamiliar were growing where his hand had rested. He gasped. I didn't mean to do that. Scyla smiled. But you did. Your thoughts made it happen. This moon is now tied to you, just like I am. For the next few days, they stayed hidden. Chris built a small shelter using broken metal from the shuttle. Scyla helped by shaping the rocks around them using her powers. The bond between them kept growing. Each night, Chris remembered more. Each memory brought change. The valley began to shift. Stones arranged themselves into smooth walls. Wind patterns changed to block the cold. Water appeared deep underground and rose to the surface in small pools. It was like the moon itself wanted to live again. Scyla watched quietly, learning more from Chris each day. Humans don't stop, she said once. Even when they're broken, they try again. We don't always win, Chris said, but we don't give up. That is why your thoughts are strong, she replied. But they were not alone. Back in the galaxy, strange reports began to appear. Scientists noticed energy waves coming from a dead moon that had been silent for centuries. Strange growth, warmth, and signals now pulsed from its surface. Galactic Council members held meetings. Patrol ships were sent to scan the area. They all pointed to one thing. The energy came from the same source as Scyla, on the moon. Chris noticed something odd. The stars above seemed to shift. It wasn't the sky, it was his own sense of time. How long have we been here? He asked. 5 days, Scyla said. It feels like more. Our link bends more than just matter, she explained. When your thoughts touch mine, the rules around us begin to change. Time may move differently here. Chris looked at the small forest now growing in the valley. This started as a dead place. Now look at it. Your memories gave it life, she said. And it is only the beginning. Suddenly, her body tensed. She closed her eyes. What's wrong? Chris asked. They found us, in orbit above. 2 scout ships appeared, small, fast, and ready for capture. They won't listen, Chris said. They'll try to take you by force. Scyla looked at him. Then give me one strong memory, one that holds both fear and hope. Chris nodded and closed his eyes. He remembered the first time he left Earth. The launch was rough. Fire shook the shuttle. Alarms rang. Everyone thought they would fail, but he believed. He believed they'd break through. That memory surged forward. The valley glowed above. The scout ships lost control. Their systems froze. Lights flashed and blinked. Then, like leaves in the wind, the ships were gently pushed back away from the moon. They couldn't land. Scyla opened her eyes and smiled. You protected us. Double quotes. Chris stood up. I just thought about not giving up, and that thought became power. They looked at the sky together, stars still shifting above. The moon had changed, and so had they. News of the living moon spread fast. Scientists called it a mystery. Commanders called it a threat. They didn't understand how a dead place could come back to life without machines. They didn't know about Scyla or Chris. They only saw strange energy, rapid growth, and patrol ships that failed to land. The Galactic Council gathered in panic. We cannot allow uncontrolled forces near the core systems, one leader said. We must study it, or stop it, another replied. More ships were sent, not scouts this time but carriers. Armed and ready, they carried machines built to block strange signals and stop energy waves. They came with orders, take control of the moon or destroy. It died on the moon. Chris and Scyla stood in the green valley they had shaped with thoughts. Flowers bloomed near rocks. Light shimmered from the sky, though no sun was close. Chris looked up at the new ships entering orbit. They're not here to talk, he said. Scyla nodded. They are afraid of what they don't control. We have to leave. Scyla placed her hand on his shoulder. No, we have to choose. Choose what? Chris asked. She looked at the trees growing from the cracked soil. We can hide forever, or we can show them the truth. They won't believe you. Then we'll let them feel it. Chris thought for a moment. Then he slowly nodded. What do we do? Scyla led him to the highest point of the valley. There, she placed her hand on the ground and closed her eyes. Think with me, she said. Chris sat beside her and closed his eyes too. He remembered everything: the broken engines, the fire, the storm on Mars, the cold night he spent fixing a leak alone. He remembered his bruises, his scraped hands, the sweat running down his neck. And he remembered hope, the moments when he smiled despite it all. Scyla felt every image. Her body glowed softly, like starlight. Above, the ships prepared to descend. Weapons charged, shields activated. But before they moved, a signal reached them, not radio, not code. It was a wave of feeling. A memory. Each pilot felt the same thing: the weight of exhaustion, the burn of hard work, the joy of survival. They saw Earth's muddy fields, wet streets, and laughing humans in the rain. It came from the moon. A pure, living memory. In the main control ship, the commander gripped the edge of his seat. What is this? He asked, shaking. We're receiving mental data, the officer beside him said. But it's not forced. It's like it's being shared. The commander paused. Is it an attack? No, sir. It feels honest. On the moon, Scyla opened her eyes. They felt it, she said. Chris took a breath. And now they will decide. For 2 days, no ship landed. The weapons remained unused. Then, a small unarmed vessel lowered gently into the valley. Its door opened, and a young alien stepped out. He wore simple clothes, no armor, no tools, just open hands. I'm here to talk, he said. Chris walked forward. We're listening. The alien looked around, eyes wide. This moon was cold and dead. Now it's warm, alive. We want to know how. Chris nodded toward Scyla. She's how. But it's not just her. It's thoughts, feelings, truth. You brought this back through memory? Yes, and through trust. The alien took a slow breath. The council will not understand. Not all of them. Scyla stepped forward. Then we will show them more. The alien returned to his ship. Later that night, he sent a message back to the fleet. Do not fire. Do not fear. Come and see. Soon, more unarmed ships landed. Scientists, leaders, and thinkers stepped onto the living moon. They touched the trees, felt the warm stones, tasted clean water from a pool that wasn't there days ago, and they listened. Chris and Scyla explained everything about the bond, about memory, about how thought itself could shape matter if it was real enough. Many didn't believe it. But then they tried. One woman remembered her childhood rainstorms and mist appeared above her hand. One man thought of digging in the dirt with his father and a patch of soil turned soft beneath his boots. Small things, but real. That night, Chris sat beside Selah under the stars. It's working, he whispered. Scyla nodded. Your world may not be ready, but some are listening. What happens now? She looked at him gently. We keep thinking, we keep feeling, and we keep showing them what's possible. What was once dead and dry now looked full of life. Small plants covered the ground, and soft lights glowed in the trees at night. Pools of clean water reflected the stars above. Even the wind felt gentle now. But it wasn't just the moon that had changed. The visitors who came, leaders, scientists, even soldiers, had felt something deep inside. Not power, not fear, but a connection, something honest. They felt memories not their own. They saw their own pasts, their own struggles, and they realized the truth. This place was shaped by thought, by trust, by real, raw memories, and the ones behind it all were Chris and Selah. That morning, Chris stood near the edge of the valley, watching a new group of ships land. These weren't warships. They were peaceful transports filled with curious minds, more people. He said softly. Scyla stood beside him. They want to learn, but not all of them understand. Not yet, she said, but they will. To have become something new, more than human, more than alien, together. Their thoughts could shape matter, change space, and even calm fear. But only when their bond was clear, only when their thoughts were real. They had taught others how to feel again, how to remember, and how to not be afraid of the messy parts of life. But now, a new question waited for them. Do they stay here on this moon, or do they go farther? That night, under a sky full of stars, the captain of Chris's old ship arrived. She looked older now, tired, but kind. She sat with Chris and Selah by the glowing pond. You made something impossible, the captain said. We just shared what was already inside, Chris replied. And now, people want you to stay, she said. Teach others, guide them. Chris looked at Scyla. She spoke calmly. We can do that. But there is more. Other places, forgotten planets, broken ships, worlds that lost their voice. They need thought too. They need memories. The captain nodded. Then you have a choice. Later, Chris and Selah walked through the valley in silence. You want to go? Chris said, yes. Selah answered, because I know what silence feels like, and I know how it hurts. You want to help others. Not just help, she said. I want to remind them that life comes from truth, not from perfect control, not from power, but from memories, from feelings, even the ones that are hard. Chris looked around. This moon had become a symbol, a lesson, a memory made real. But maybe it was only the beginning. I'll go with you, he said. Scyla smiled. I was hoping you would. They spent one more night on the moon. Chris sat by the first pool they had created. He dipped his hand into the water and felt warmth, not just from the surface, but from his own mind. This place had grown from thought, and it would remain. The next morning, a special ship arrived, not built from metal but from the same living matter as Selah's old vessel. It responded to thought. It moved with feeling. It was quiet, but strong. As they stepped onto it, the people of the moon stood around them, some human, some alien, all changed by what they had seen. One young girl stepped forward. Will we see you again? Chris knelt beside her. Maybe. Not here. But one day, when you think of us, really think, we'll feel it. The ship rose slowly into the sky. From above, the moon looked like a light in the darkness. A place once forgotten, now shining. As the ship moved through space, Selah reached out her hand. Chris took it without a word. Are you ready? She asked. Not really, he said with a smile. But that's what makes it real. They looked ahead into deep space, into the unknown. But this time, they didn't go as strangers. They went as one. And behind them, the moon stayed alive. A memory that could never be erased.